What's good, man? Keep pushing the journey of faith right here, back at you, man. Changing lives through ministry, mentorship, and music, man. And guess what? I have a special guest on the line right now with me. Jonathan Long from Run with Zeal Records is on. What's up, big homie? How you doing?
How's it going? How's it going, Dwayne?
Man, how you doing, man? It's been a minute since we last spoke.
It has. It's been a minute. I've been through a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I'm looking forward to you speaking to our audience today, man. I think the last time that we really connected was at Flavor Fest, and that's right around a year right now, like right on the year mark, man.
Man, I feel like it's been longer than that, actually.
It might have, man. It might have been a little longer than that.
I didn't even have chin hair then.
Man, this dude, man, y'all gonna love what this guy to say, man. This brother's great, man. Very entertaining, very funny, just a man for God, man. And without further ado, I'm just gonna let you speak to the audience, man. Let us know who Jonathan Long is, man. Just give us a rundown of you, man.
Well, I think one of the greatest things about my life, something that I actually love about my life, is that I grew up in a house that was located in this place in Tampa, Florida, that was really diverse.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of different aspects of life. I got to see, there was all types of culture around me. There was white, black, Hispanic, the random Asian on the corner, and it was just different type of, like, people doing voodoo right down the street.
Wow.
That's house, and doing like some crazy stuff, So I experienced a lot. I actually grew up in a middle class area, so it was a mixture of people who were struggling and a mixture of people who had a little bit tucked away.
Yeah.
It seemed to cross a little bit ways. There's a lot of rich people, and then to the other side, going the opposite direction, there's Section 8.
Wow.
With Carver City and stuff, and then there's West Tampa, which was mostly Hispanic. So I grew up in a very central location where I got to see a lot of different, different lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it wasn't very hard to, I didn't grow up just seeing one particular type of person, and then my mind was blown when I got older. But I was so used to it that I'm pretty open to a lot of things when, especially culture. So. That's one thing I grew up around. I had my mom and my dad.
Yep.
Not very, it was rough growing up, but I am appreciative of what I've learned.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot of, my core foundations and hard work and things like that. I wasn't, fed. I wasn't just given everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I watched my parents struggle and work hard to get, anything. So that was my, my mindset growing up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I grew up in there. I grew up in that neighborhood. I was affected by hip hop, the culture of hip hop. My oldest brother, hip hop head.
Yes, sir.
So he put me on to everybody. Like, I was really little, I was listening to DMX, and he had all the Tupac. He had all the Tupac albums. He did. He had.
Yeah.
He had all the Eminem stuff coming out. He had all. He listening to Mystical and No Limit Soul. Like, just everybody that was out at the time. He went to it was a store called FYE. And I think they're closed down now, but he used to go there and spend all his money. All his money. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was back when you could buy like CDs and stuff like that, man.
Yeah, he used to dive in our piggy bank
to
go get some albums.
Yes, sir. That was back when going to the record store was like the thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't digital music back then. It was like going to the record store and buying your CDs and making sure you had them. And man, that brings back some memories, bro.
It was, and that was the feel. That was hip hop.
Yeah.
Like, my brother. I mean, I was more into sports than I was music.
Sure.
Growing up, but my brother put me on to everybody. So to relate to him, I listened to the same things he listened to, and even his thing growing up, he would tell me, he'd go, everyone just wants a hot beat and a hot hook, and they don't listen to the lyrics. Right. So he would point out lyrical stuff to me. So I kind of carried that with me. and I listened to the lyrics, and then I kind of carried that mentality too, where I'm like, man, everybody just wants to hear something nice, but they don't, they don't want content. They don't want some like, crazy stuff. You know what I mean? They don't want to hear some, off the wall, like,
right.
Wow, did he just say that in his music? Like, that's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I came to appreciate that at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even listening to a Pink Floyd vinyl with my mom, and I was like, Mom, this album's depressing. And I was a kid. I was really little. And she's like, yeah, you know what? This record is depressing. so like, I paid attention to that stuff, I think had to have been, when I got into music, when I actually started getting into music was when I graduated. It was when I graduated from high school.
Wow, okay.
It's when I actually started doing music. So, I started dabbling in it a little bit before, just playing around,
Mm-hmm.
and just having fun, because all my brothers, we all wrote music.
What year was that? What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2010.
Okay, cool. So not really too long ago, not that long ago.
No, really not.
Right, okay, cool.
So 2010 was when I started, when I actually, I was dabbling in it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
And around that time period, I was running with, I had two types of cliques. I had a clique of people who were doing drugs heavy, and then I had another clique of people really trying to get some money and to, bring something together. And it kind of felt like a team, and I've always loved that team aspect of things. So around that time period, I was selling pills, selling weed, things like that, because I just wanted to make some extra cash. I wanted respect.
Yep.
And those came hand in hand, and so it felt like that was my, like my way of gaining some type of value.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I enjoyed the people I was around,
Mm-hmm.
So that was the people, I felt like had my back at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I was doing. I had the other side, there was a bunch of druggies, and it's always good to have drug friends when you sell drugs, so that's what, so that's what I was around, and I've seen a lot of crazy things, man.
Yeah.
I, to this day, there's things that I even, regret, selling pills to a pregnant woman and things that was tough stuff, because the fact that when it was going down, it wasn't that, like, I wasn't thinking about her
mm-hmm.
or the kid or anything like that. It was that she was crying out of pain,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And, if I don't give it to her, she's going to be running all over town doing, I don't know what she's going to do or where she's going to end up
mm-hmm.
at the end of the night. So it's like, do I give it to her or do I just let her roam free? It kind of I put myself in that situation.
Sure.
And so there were a lot of things happening where God was starting to reveal himself to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I was kind of like, I don't know what I know I'm doing wrong, but I felt like the people around me, were really the ones that had my back. And God kind of proved to me over time that he was the only one that really, truly could have my back,
mm-hmm.
Because people fail you. And, so that was around the time I started to graduate. So 2011 is when I actually gave my life to Christ. I actually became a Christian. Yeah.
What was the turning point? Like, what was it like? Okay, this is the last straw. I got to do this. Or did God just say, "Look, get yourself right"?
Yeah, it was crazy because between 2010 and 2011, that whole year,
mm-hmm.
God was talking to me. He was moving in my life, and he was having me question a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout that whole time period, even though I was doing what I was doing, God was speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had a consideration when I'm talking to other people, because people will talk about God in settings that you're like, what are you doing though? Like, you're talking about God like you know God, yet you're over here doing this,
mm-hmm.
X,
mm-hmm.
like. But if you really analyze somebody and you see where they're at, you can really have sympathy for where they're at. You can really consider a person, you know what I mean? Because you have to consider people. And so I didn't have somebody cramming Jesus down my throat. It was truly God working in me. Wow. And he was showing me things and convicting me.
Yes,
and
sir.
At the end of the day, that's what it takes. It takes God to change people.
Yes,
people
sir.
not going to. We're not going to save anybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, a lot of things that happened to me in this early process is what I carry with me now.
Got you.
Yeah, so
Man.
2011, was the year.
Wow, man, that's amazing because, like, the way you're saying you connected with God was exactly how I connected with God. It wasn't when people were shoving religion down my throat, when they were just hitting me with it constantly. It didn't take. It wasn't until they left me alone, and then God just started working on me, and then I came to Him. So, man, I can feel you on that. I can really connect with you on that, and I really appreciate you sharing your testimony because it's unique. It's unique to you, but there are other people out there who are possibly going through what you've been through, or have already done it, and they need to hear what you have said. They need to hear how you came out, so that they too can be saved, so that they too know. You know what I'm saying? There's light at the end of that tunnel, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the last straw, like you were saying. Stuff was going down. Like, I was having people come to I was living in a duplex in West Tampa, and I was having people, I kind of didn't really have control over the situation. When people are doing, hardcore drugs, they're doing blues, heroin, stuff like that, you don't really have control over people, man. When they want a fix, they're going to find a fix. So people were like coming to my back door at like 2:00 at night, knocking on my back door, super inconsiderate, blowing up my phone. If I went out of town with my mom or something like that, people are blowing up my phone as if it's the end of the world. And people scheme on you, and people scheme on you, and they're like, oh, you should meet me here. And then it's like, no, you got to take control of the situation and go, no, you're going to meet me here at this place, so I know you're not doing something crazy. So just having that like situation where like when you come to that realization that all these people on your phone only want something from you. And you feel really lonely, and like you feel super lonely.
Wow.
Not just lonely, super lonely.
Yes, sir.
You just get to a point where you're like, and no one, you have friends who come over, and then all they want to do is buy drugs off you, and then they're like, oh, peace out, and don't invite you nowhere. And it's like, what's going on here? Like,
yes, sir.
I don't have anybody. And that's how I felt. That's really how it felt. So that last straw was, I think God made it very easy for me. It was difficult, but it was easy at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Because He was so good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it was like, I'm throwing everything away, but what is everything?
Right. Wow.
But that's how I felt. It's funny because everything felt like it was a lot more then.
Wow.
Because all the things that you kind of find as your identity, and like all these walls you kind of build up, and this reputation that you build up, and this reputation is meant to protect you. And then you get to a point where it's like, okay, you have to remove it, and it's like, dang, this is going to change, the outlook completely on how people view me, But now it's even it's crazier because I feel like if anything, I looked weaker then than I do now.
Sure.
Because I'm actually walking in what I believe, and I'm actually being me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So when did you get into rapping for God? When did you get into rapping, Christian rapping, Christian hip hop? When did you get into that? All
right, so 2011 I got saved, and I actually got saved around the time I actually entered into a tech school.
Okay.
So I was working at an auto shop already, but I went to school to be a mechanic, and I met a guy there, and he raps too, so we would spit stuff outside or whatever. Yeah. And I remember hanging out over there, and I was like, you know what, this is my last pack of cigarettes, and I gave him my cigarettes and stuff, and I was like, I'm done, bro. And that's when my whole life started to change, dude.
Wow.
So I remember I gave my life to God around that time period while I was at school. So He actually sat with me. He saw my change, and He believed in God too. He believed in God too at the time. I've been in disconnect with him, the same guy, but we liked what we were rapping about and stuff. Let's set up a studio, do a little something, and prior to this, like 2 weeks, maybe a week or two prior to this, my brother, the hip hop head I was telling you about, put me on to everybody, he found out I became a Christian. So he sent me Lecrae's album.
Oh, wow.
And he sent this to me, and he said, have you ever heard of Lecrae? And I was like, no. And that's when he sent it over to me. He sent me, he burnt it. And he sent me the album, and I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this is super crazy that you could actually get Christian and hip-hop. Because growing up, my mom introduced me to Christian rap, but I saw it as super cheesy.
Okay,
real. She took me to a Christian bookstore, and, you know, cross moving's cool. I know a lot of people like that stuff, but the way it was introduced to me, it wasn't introduced in a way that was cool. It was almost like the leapfrog of hip-hop.
Sure.
But like, oh, it's the same thing you've been listening to, John, just you can learn something from it.
Right. Yep.
No, I'm gonna listen to DMX.
Yep.
Yep. Like DMX prays on his album, Mom.
Right.
And I'm like trying to convince her and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So like when it was introduced to me, I saw it as super cheesy. And that was just my experience, because I've even talked with Cicely, and she put me on to like the, you know, like the originals of Christian rap. That way I came to appreciate more of that side of, you know, of hip hop.
Yeah, man.
But,
I mean,
so he put me on to things, the history of it, you know. Absolutely,
man. I mean, the era you're talking about, man, hip hop was hitting so hard. I mean, it's not like it is, in my opinion, it's not like it is now. Like, it was so strong back then. Like, it just had a hold to you. I mean, it was life. And then what led me, I had never heard, like you, I had never really heard of Christian hip hop. I didn't even know people really did that. And I think if I did hear it, I probably thought like same thing, like most people think, oh, it's whack, it's corny. Like, how could you rap and be a Christian? But then, man, as I got older and then I heard the stuff, it just opened my eyes, man. So, man, big ups for Mom trying, but it just wasn't your time, man. But big ups for your brother sending you that Lecrae album. And you know what? I don't think, you know, even though it was burnt, it's all good, man, because Lecrae probably be proud that it saved the soul. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. It definitely changed my perspective on things. So
Yes, sir.
I definitely turned my music into another direction, you know?
Yep. So you're sitting there rapping. You're into Christian hip hop now. You're liking it. You're saved. How did Run with Zeal? How did the record label come about? How did all that formulate?
Well, Shoes, man, that came on a little later, because I mean, from the beginning of my craft on how I started putting everything together, I hadn't even got to that point. You know, I was at a house with all these rooms, people living in this place. It's low income, and all these people are coming out of situations, you know, like they were just locked up and now they're trying to get back on their feet and stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of drug use at this house. I've seen prostitution, not a lot of, but I've seen prostitution at the house, and it was for getting drugs. And I've seen it was another atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I loved it, because I had just became a Christian, and you know, I had kind of already fell into my church. I already got into I got with leadership, and I got plugged in. So I was really I was learning a lot at the time, and just going there and being able to talk about, you know, the craziest, you know, like talking about, you know, Illuminati, talking about like all these different topics, and talking about just deep understandings, deep conversations, and then we were just writing and freestyling. I thrived off of it. I went there, felt like when I come here, that people are watching me and they're seeing what, you know, like what a Christian is, you know. And so that was just a big part of my beginnings. But then, you know, I had to, you know, like after that situation kind of fell apart, you know, and God's, you know, like I didn't bank on it. I was sharpening my craft at the time, you know.
Yep.
I took that money I had left over from all the money I had left from pills, and that's what I put it into, building a studio, getting a mic, getting an interface, and I said I'm going to put that towards something good, you know. And then I met another brother named Tuki, and he was really positive and cool, you know what I'm saying? So like that's my brother still, you know. So I met up with him, and we ended up making a studio at his mom's house over, you know, like off of this. It's like well, I don't know, you haven't really been around Tampa, but it's like 48. It's kind of near the projects over there.
Okay.
So we were working out of that for a little while, and then I ended up I was working in youth at my church. I was a youth leader at my church, and the pastor and everybody ended up letting us build the studio at our church. So we actually built my third studio was at my church.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super dope that the church allowed y'all to do that, man. Wow.
We had a key to the church. Like that was home, dude. So, you know, my pastor, shout out to Pastor Denny, he's one of the real ones, man. You know. So yeah, so that's when I met Cicely.
Yep.
Her actually it was a Flavor Fest, and she had just won the Rapzilla Beat Battle.
Okay.
And so I ran up. I felt compelled, and I've never done this for other people because I usually kind of shy away from people who have, you know, a big name in their own eyes, you know.
Okay.
Or, you know, like, or in others' eyes, you know, because I don't know what it is. I never really just go up and just talk to a bunch of people who, you know, have, unless it's a very genuine feeling.
Sure.
But I don't usually walk up. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna go tell her that, like, I thought she was super dope. And I told her, and that was the first time I met her, and she didn't know how to receive me, I don't think. And I was like, maybe she don't like me or something. I don't know. Yeah. So then, you know, my actually the dude I was working with in youth, he was telling her, he was in communication with her too, and he was telling her like she should link up with us and like see what we've been doing at the church and stuff. And she was kind of just like, nah, you know, like not really like ready to come and meet new friends yet.
Sure.
So you know, we were still doing our thing and everything. Then she randomly, this is how we actually like met and got to know each other. She posted up random on Facebook, and she was like, you know, a brother needs help, inbox me. That's it. Okay. And so I was around that time, I was saving up a lot of money from my job and stuff. I just got out of school, got a raise at my job, so I was working my job, and so I had some money, you know, to put away. I was like, you know, I'll give this to somebody, you know, somebody needs it, you know. And so I went up and met up with her, and I brought her some money for a brother. And when that happened, we actually started talking about a lot of stuff about, you know, life, music, things like that. So she invited me to a Bible study after that because she thought I was cool, whatever. And I know I'm cool, you know.
Okay.
So, I'm just playing. So she invited me to the Bible study, and then, you know, we started to talk more, and we seemed like we had everything like in common with each other, music-wise, everything, and, you know, our heart behind why we wanted to make music. It just seemed like everything matched.
Yep.
So she brought me to the studio, and so that's when kind of the friend / you know, like, introduced me to your music life happened.
Sure. So did she have run with Zeal at that particular time?
No, Run with Zeal was actually around this time. Run with Zeal was created by, it was 2 other brothers and myself, and it wasn't a record label. It wasn't anything.
Sure.
It was us as a group. We went out to one show in Tampa and rapped, and so like it wasn't really anything. It was kind of like a group, kind of like, you know, the HGA dudes and stuff, where it was like we were together. And so that was kind of our thing, you know. And then when she came along and we started to really get a little more serious about it, because Cicely has that mindset, that seriousness, like you guys are, you know, like you guys are putting all this effort into something, let's be a little more serious and let's do it, you know. So when she came together, like Run with Zeal really still started forming into something, you know, on a different level. And you know, as time went by, it was funny because we were like, I don't know if we could like want to start a record label or anything, but every time we said we were thinking, you know, we would need this and we need that for a record label, it's like God provided it. So we were like at a point where we just said, okay, let's just do it and get the LLC and start moving. So that was like 4 years ago. No, it was like 5 years ago now.
Wow. But so God was just making it happen for you guys. Every time you needed something, God was like, here you go. Here you go. Okay, I'm trying to show you, do this. I'm behind you 100%. That's amazing, man.
Yeah. And we had to toil the soil, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so Run with Zeal Records is established. You and Cicely are on it. You guys have any more artists? Did you have any more artists when you started?
No.
Okay, so you and Cicely are on. We didn't have any. Okay, so you and Cicely are on Run with Zeal Records, and you're doing your thing, right? And so now, you know, and you're saying you guys are connecting on levels. It seemed like you had a lot of stuff in common. So now you guys end up getting married. Talk to us about that.
Well, it was kind of funny, man, because man, I'll be 100.
Uh-huh.
You know, because we were friends for it was like 4 or 5 years.
Sure. That's
And,
good. That's
you know,
good. That's definitely good.
She witnessed me date other women.
Wow.
And you know, she's kind of seen already how I was.
Mm-hmm.
Women, so she started to like me more.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, so I guess that's a good thing. She told me that.
Sure.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, okay. I got it. Yeah.
So you know, but I remember the last relationship I was in. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was you know that she was a cool girl and all. Like I met her at in prison ministry and everything.
Wow.
You know, and so I felt like, you know, like if there was anybody, if you were to see any leader in the church and they'd seen us, they would say, "Oh, that's the type of female you need to go after."
Sure.
But I say deep down, she wasn't the one for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I mean, a lot of times I've noticed even more in my walk. You have to really seek God and consider counsel,
Mm-hmm.
but don't just follow counsel because you want to please your counsel
Sure,
and please
sure.
the leaders around you. But do it. Just really pray about what you're doing, because that, you know, that relationship would have led me to run away from my calling. It would have made me a person that I'm not. And it's nothing against her. It's just that we were created differently.
Sure.
But you know, all leaders would have been like, "Yo, this is a good one, John. You know, that she's a catch type of thing. You know."
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, that's not what I wanted, and that's not what I valued.
Sure.
You know, what I valued, I ended up appreciating in Sicily. And so after that relationship, and it wasn't really a long relationship, it was more like we were figuring each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when after that I started to see even more the things that I loved about Sicily.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when my love grew for her. And I was like,
sir.
dang, man. And it was scary. It was scary because we owned a business and everything together. But
yeah, I bet, man. I
at the
bet.
same time, yeah, and it was a best friend. So like most women that I had dated, I saw all the best things up front, you know.
Sure.
And then, you know, as time went by, I was kind of seeing all the negatives come out, and I was figuring out a way to get out of the relationship mentally, you know. But with her, the more we were together and we grew, it was like I was always picturing a future with us. I never was looking for a way out. I was always thinking of a future, and that was new for me.
Yes, sir. And I think it's important the reason why I asked you about the marriage, man, is because marriage is something that God established in the beginning of time. And I was telling you about this a little bit off air, man. So marriage is something that God originally established, you know, for two perfect people in a perfect world. And it was something that God was like, this must be. And so I just really feel like it's whenever two people join in union and step up to the plate and say, hey, we're going to pursue the entity that God created. We're going to pursue the thing that God created called marriage, and we're going to try to make it work. That's a really big step because, again, marriage was created in a perfect world when the two people were perfect. Now we're in a imperfect world, and we are nowhere near perfect, but we're trying to make this union happen. So just really wanted to highlight, you know, the fact that you guys went on ahead and stepped up to the plate and decided to get married. And congratulations, brother. Man, I'm going to be praying for you guys. And, man, you looking forward to the journey?
Absolutely. I think it's even now it's getting better.
Yes, sir. You know? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely,
in the beginning, when you move in, you have like these standards that you even feel like you weren't gonna put, but then you start to like have these little standards that you kind of have for someone that's living with you. And I feel like we're learning each other even on a deeper level. So like now I'm at a point where it feels pretty cool, you know, to have that. You know, like the other night I recorded myself, and I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and I was recording at like 2. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna knock out. So I knocked out on the couch, and she gets up at like 4 and starts mixing my vocals because she likes hearing my verse.
Wow.
And then she's like, yo, check this out. And so like, yeah, like we have like this cool like thing. It's like, you know, we work together, but we just love each other. Like we have, you know, committed space to like spending time. Like last night was our night of porch talk.
Sure.
And we get to hang out and talk about, deep things and,
Mm-hmm.
freestyle on the porch sometimes
Mm-hmm.
and just like, it's just cool, man,
That's
to have
awesome,
that,
man.
to have that.
Absolutely, man. Congratulations once again, brother. So, all right, now you guys have the record label together. You guys are kind of partners. You're both artists. Now you get married and you start creating music. And you got a new EP out. It's titled Crowded. Talk to us about the creation of that EP.
Man, Crowded, when Crowded was created, it was definitely an EP where you can feel a struggle of identity
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out who you are. Who you are as a man, who you are as a brother, as a son, as just a man out here, man. I was, mid-20s. You're a man in your mid-20s, and you're trying to figure out who you are. And a lot of that EP, I was letting that out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's very, my approach to hip hop has always been relation.
Yes.
And that's just what I've always been attracted to.
Yeah.
When it comes to music. So that's just what comes out of me. So a lot of what I do has been relational music. So a lot of people who have heard the project, I've been getting great feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love the people who have been inboxing me and just showing love and just the things that it inspired in others, that it brought up for others to share. It's wow, man.
Absolutely, man. And so right before the interview, we played Pick Me Up, right? One of the tracks from the latest album, from the latest EP. Talk to me about Pick Me Up and what was the message you were trying to convey behind that track?
Pick Me Up was when I was falling into doubt. And I think anybody who's, being called out and to do something that's a little, it's scary at times when you're called to do something. You feel like, you can't do it. And truth is, you can't do it on your own. But it's trusting God, and
Wow.
and in that time, I was doubting. I was really doubting, and I was thinking, man, I poured out everything.
Mm-hmm.
I poured all my resources, my money, my energy, my effort, my emotion. I poured everything out. And, God, are you going to have all this come to be only to just, just pick me up and this just to put me down? Are you going to lift me up to the point, exhaust everything for you to just drop me where I am?
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of have that fear and that doubt kind of, spin inside of you. And I think a lot of young people and it's a lot of young believers,
Mm-hmm.
they may just have to wrestle with that so that their faith grows.
Wow.
And that's just a real life thing.
Absolutely.
So when a lot of people go through that, and you have to tussle with your faith, man.
Yep.
And we're in America, and
Mm-hmm.
America is definitely, we're spoiled here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to rely on God for a bowl of rice.
Right.
If we're gonna get rice today, because we can go down the street to a convenience store,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and get something, So it's a different faith when you're over here compared to overseas. Like
Sure.
I was talking to my pastor, he went to India
Mm-hmm.
a lot and different places overseas, and they were telling him like how do you stay faithful to God and live in America?
Wow.
So they're praying for us.
Yeah.
They're praying.
Yeah.
We will go do a mission because they're without finances or something.
Sure.
Or supplies. And so we're thinking, pray for them. And then they're over there thinking, no, we need to pray for you.
Wow. And that, that's something I never even.
Powerful.
Yeah, that's super powerful, man. I've never heard that before, and I've never even thought about it. Like I said, like you said, we're Americans. We're pretty blessed over here. We got a lot of resources compared to the rest of the world, and so I never thought about maybe some of these other countries who we review as having maybe less than us actually praying for us. Like, wow, that's super deep.
Yeah.
But I mean, even it just goes to show you like God's I don't want to say, I guess God's power. It just goes to show you God's just the greatness of God. He can be prevalent no matter what situation you are. If we're talking about maybe just finances, okay, so from the poorest of the poor to the rich of the rich, everybody needs God for something. So wow, that was super deep, man. I didn't expect you to hit me with that one.
Yeah, and I've noticed like the more I've gone without,
Uh-huh.
the things I think about change completely. and I find myself focusing more on the simple things than I do anything.
Wow.
So, and when you're doing that, man, there's such a peace in that.
Yes, sir.
There's such a peace in it, man. And so, you know, a lot of times I've been focusing on just the simple things to get me through.
Yes, sir. Wow.
You know, it just keeps you grateful. It keeps you happy. So it doesn't blow my mind at all that people with more money are more depressed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It doesn't, you know.
Wow, man. All right, so let's talk about one more track on the EP that we're about to spin right after the interview. And this one, you know, I want to say this one is kind of special because it's the husband and wife duo, man. Crowded features your wife Cicely on it, and let me tell you something, man. When you get a chance, you talk to Cicely next, man. Let her know. Super dope job on that hook, man. Like I actually played her part over and over and over again. Her voice just, it kind of captured my ears, man. So great job. Talk to us about Crowded and the creation of that, man. What was that like creating it with your wife?
Oh man. Well, that record in particular, throughout the EP, I sat down with her. And some of the beats during the production process, I was with her saying, "Oh, this would sound cool or not." But this one, she did all on her own without me being there. She wrote the hook and everything, and she was like, "Yo, it's on." So I'm like, so she put this whole thing together, and just listening to it, I just, you know, automatically what came to my head was this me and this other guy, and that other guy was my mind. You know, and I was talking to my mind. I was talking to myself. And, you know, so that song in particular was really cool. And I think what I liked about the song as well is the song came out a little before a lot of these new records, like the Kendrick Lamar album, things like that came out.
Yeah.
And she was doing the switch up in production. And that was really innovative, in my opinion. I was like, wow, man, the switch ups. Like, she did a lot of switch ups on the EP. So she switched the beat up in the middle of it,
okay,
or towards the end of it, where, you know, a lot of people I had heard, I didn't hear a lot of people doing that at the time,
right?
And now I'm starting to hear it more often, and so I'm just thinking, you know, the culture, like the more and more we're on Instagram, the more, you know, we need to stay focused on something. So if you switch up the beat, if you have it's gonna get to the point where it's 2 songs in one.
Wow.
And to keep someone captured, you have to do 2 songs within 1 song. And so, like, that's kind of like, it was kind of cool because they like captured you, where like it's a total switch up at the end.
Yes, sir.
And but she was innovative like that with the process. I thought it was really cool.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. It's a super dope track, man. Super dope track. And before I let you go, man, before we end the interview, I wanted to let you know that you said something in the beginning of the interview, and I was like, man, I'm gonna wait till the end to tell him this. You were talking about how back in the days, you know, it was really the beat that captured people and not necessarily the words. And I was that kind of a hip hop listener. It was the beat that usually captured me and not necessarily the words. Sometimes, you know, after a while, the words would resonate, especially like if you were trying to live the life of the music you were listening to. But for me, mainly, it was the beat. And so I say all that to say that the one thing that sticks out to me, besides the fact that you have great music, is your lyricism and your lyrical skills, bro. You really have a talent for being able to express yourself with words. And so when I'm listening to your music, it's actually kind of like a perfect marriage. It's like the beat is super dope, and then I can hear what you're saying, and I'm just totally like, man, did he just say that? Let me rewind that. Let me listen to that again. Okay, let me listen to that one more time. Let me capture that again, man. So great job, man. I just wanted to highlight that before I let you go.
Man, thank you, man. I really appreciate that, for real.
Absolutely,
for real.
Absolutely, man. Man, I want to make sure that everybody out there listening can follow you guys and make sure to keep up with you, Cicely, and run with Zeal Records, man. What's you guys' social media and website?
All right, so my website, my social medias are all the same. Jonathan Long RWZ. So anytime you're gonna find my music, find anything, it's Jonathan Long RWZ. But also Cicely is Cicely RWZ. Try to keep it simple, you know. So
absolutely. And what's you guys' website?
We have our separate artist websites right now that are fully functioning right now. So www.jonathanlongrwz.com and then Sicily is www.sicilyrwz.com.
Wow, man. Wow, man. Thank you for taking the time out to do this interview, man. I know you guys are busy. You guys working on your marriage and you're doing that thing and you're producing great music, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out to be on the show, bro. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for reaching out to me, man. You've always been, you've been a blessing, bro. You've always been a blessing, bro. So,
man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, bro. Hey, I consider you part of the team, man. So anytime you need anything, just reach out, man. You know how to get a hold of me.
Word.
Hey,
appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. We got Jonathan Long on the line, man. Make sure you check him out. www.jonathanlongrwz.com, man. Do me a favor, John. Man, go ahead and front announce Crowded for us right here in the KPJOF radio show. We're about to spin that thing.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jonathan Long, and you are about to hear Crowded featuring Sicily.
Let's go.